What's up guys, we're doing more live trading here and I'm looking at Euro NZD on the 4-hour chart. I have a short position open, and in this video what we're going to do is we're going to talk about why I took this trade, and together we are going to watch this trade without the benefit of hindsight. We're going to watch the trade play out together, and I'm going to walk you through a trade like an average trade that I would take. Now of course I don't know how this trade is going to play out, and if that's something that you appreciate, if you want to watch a video where I'm not speaking with hindsight in my favor and telling you what already happened, I'm actually going to trade this live, then make sure to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe. Let's jump into this trade. So I just shorted Euro New Zealand as we retested the 38.2% retracement. I drew my level from the swing high here to the swing low at 1.5880. This is a 4-hour chart, so this is more of a swing trade idea, with the idea being, okay, price is coming up to a level of resistance that lines up nicely with the 38.2% retracement. And I'm looking for a continuation of this momentum downtrend that we've seen. This big swing to the downside, I'm basically looking for that to just rebound here a little before continuation. And if that happens, we could stand to make some good money. But before we talk about how much money we can make, let's talk about the stop loss. If this price continues to break through this level at the 38.2%, if that level does not hold relatively quickly, I'm going to be out of the trade for a loss of $1,498, which, yes, that is a large amount of money, but I am trading a large trading size or a large account. So this, of course, is not going to destroy the bank account or anything like that for this account. So I'm risking 65 pips here with a stop loss, again, just above that 38.2. If market does not hold this structure area, I'm basically going to be out of the trade for a quick loss. Whereas if this thing goes in my favor, that's where things get interesting, and that's where if we get to that point in the trade, you'll be able to see me manage a position where basically I'll be looking to trail stops and try and capitalize on the maximum I can out of this move. If it occurs, that is what we'll be looking for. Now, on top of that, of course, I also have a little bit of data to back my trade idea. With every trade that I share, I consult the Edge Finder here, which is our market scanner. And what it does is it gives me a chance to look at this thing from just an overall several metrics lining up to give me a bias one way or the other. Now, I'd like to actually start with the fundamentals. Now, recently, the euro, in my view, is very, very unattractive in terms of a place to buy a currency. And the reason I say that is because the euro area, in this current situation, we see central banks racing to raise interest rates to combat the inflation that we're seeing worldwide. The euro area is sort of lagging behind in that, with high levels of inflation. You can see 8.9% here of inflation. So higher inflation than New Zealand, which we are, of course, when we are trading currency pairs, we are comparing one economy to another. That is really at the core what we're doing. So there's higher inflation in Europe, but there's lower inflation in New Zealand. Now, to combat that, we of course raise interest rates to combat high levels of inflation, right? That's the idea that central banks have adopted. But what we'll see here is that interest rates are higher in New Zealand. So they're sort of winning that race if you're looking strictly at inflation and interest rates and monetary policy. Conversely, we could take a look at some other things. Of course, GDP growth is a bit faster in Europe recently in the most recent reporting. So that kind of goes against our idea. However, unemployment is better in New Zealand, which is a healthy sign of an economy, right? Low unemployment levels are good. And then if you take a look at the trend, we have a strong downward trend overall. And then again, going off of our fundamentals, we have 3 categories here that strongly favor the selling the euro and buying the New Zealand dollar. So every trade that we take, of course, is backed by several metrics and ideas that we're looking at. So of course, I consulted this gave me the green light, and then I liked the technicals, so that's why we entered the trade. So what I use, just a quick summary, I use the Edge Finder to sort of help me guide direction, which currency pairs I may be interested in, direction-wise, where the bias is for me, and then I'm actually executing trades based off technicals and levels and structure and that sort of thing. So that's how I sort of approach a trade. I've just shared this trade alert with members inside of our private Discord channel. If that's something that you're interested in joining, make sure to hit the link down below in the description. You can sign up there to join us inside of the Discord. So I just shorted this. I shorted EuroCAD, made some money on this earlier this week. So I am happy with continuing to look for shorts on the euro, now taking it against the New Zealand dollar. So we'll see if we can make some money on this. And what I'll do now is I'll pause the video and we'll come back once this thing gets moving a little bit more. Alright guys, so it's actually been only about an hour or so since I took this trade, and really quickly it has moved in my favor, which is of course a good start. It's not necessarily meaning that this trade is going to be a massive winner or anything like that, but it's a great start to a trade. And what I can do now is I can actually narrow in just a little bit here and show you the 1 hour chart. So our 38.2% level held almost like perfectly. You can see price came up to this level and with almost no drawdown at all, held that area, that resistance point that we marked out, and dropped like a rock. Now again, this is just a good start. It's not necessarily a trade that is profitable until we close out. Now, of course, I'm not just going to close out of my trade. If you're familiar with my style of trading, you know that what I like to do is I like to trail my stop loss and give a trade room to become a massive winner if it decides to do so. So we're floating just about 1R. At one point here, we were just about 1R in profit, meaning that my risk of the initial trade of 65 pips, we came just about 65 pips into profit. Now, at that point, what I usually like to do is take my risk off of the table. So remember, I took my initial trade at this level. I really don't want to see price come back and break past that level. So of course, I'm not necessarily saying like, okay, well, the trade is going to reverse. I'm just going to say I don't want to take any more risk than I need to. So I'm going to now go ahead and lock my stop loss at break even here on the position. So what I'm doing here is I'm just modifying the position on my Oanda account, and there we go. So at this point, if I pull up the trade details, you can see that at this point we have got this profit trailing, but we've also got 58 pips in profit. If price comes back to break even at that point, I'll just close out and just the trade will be nullified, because I don't really want to see this thing put in a higher low, right? That would be a negative catalyst to potentially tell us that markets may want to break out the other way. And if that happens, I'll just get out of the way of this Euro NZD move. We're floating $1,300 of profit, but we think that there could be more downside, right? So I'm thinking, okay, I think we could be headed back down to the previous lows, if not perhaps even beyond that. And if that happens, then we'll trail stops accordingly. But for now, I'm at break even. I can't lose any money on the trade. I've now removed my risk from the position, which is a great spot to be in. I'm gonna go ahead and update members inside of the Discord channel. For those of you guys who are VIP members, you'll know exactly where I'm sharing it, but we just trailed stops to break even here on the position. And from here, we have a risk-free trade, which is a great spot to be in. We'll pause, we'll come back once things get moving again. All right, guys, so a little bit of context. It's been some time since our last entry on the Euro NZD trade. I actually ended up getting stopped out for about break even, closing the trade for about $40, $50 or something like that. It was really small where we last left off. Now, I actually chose to re-enter my position as price popped up into my zone again. I saw some rejection on the lower time frames. This was a while ago though now, and I just flipped on my charts here this evening. I was checking on things and realized that we had news on the from the central bank in New Zealand, which they just came out with some numbers here. I'll show you guys what just happened. 3% in terms of interest cash rate came out, which is their central bank's interest rate. It was forecasted to be 3%, so it came out as expected, which of course is a bullish thing generally for a interest rate or for a currency. If their interest rate is rising, that is considered to be a bullish thing. So if I'm taking a look here at the NZD against the euro, we're seeing the euro basically jump around here with the news. Now, of course, I am basically going to stop out if this thing breaks the highs. That is my idea here, but I just wanted to capture a little bit of the volatility here because you can see this thing is flying. We were moving all over the place prior to this event, and then on the actual release, we had this major flush to the downside, and I figured I would just let this roll for a little while, and in fact actually just leave the camera rolling so that you guys can get a bit of a real time of this trade with the news coming out. Of course, I do hold trades into a news event like this, which sounds a little bit crazy, but if you're a swing trader, you understand that, you know, interest rate decisions are not something that I'm afraid of. In fact, I'm bullish on the NZD partially from a fundamental perspective, because we were forecasting the New Zealand dollar to continue to outpace the euro in the interest rate department. So I'll let this run and we'll see if we can watch this trade play a little in real time. So I'll just let this thing run for a bit. Okay, so a good move here, to say the least. Floating around $1,500, and part of me wants to go ahead and trail this stop loss to break even at this point. A major rejection off of our level, which is beautiful. We took that trade, had to sit in it for a while, but now seeing the move in our favor. So I will say I do really want to move stops to break even, but I am giving this just a bit of time to sort of normalize. And what I mean by that is sometimes you get a move like this and there's like a jolt around in price, like things jump up, things jump down, and it tends to stay that way for about 15 minutes after the news. We are getting pretty close to that point, so I am looking to potentially trail stops to break even and remove the risk from this trade. You guys saw that when I first started talking about this or recording this segment of the video, the trade was negative, right? So this thing was trying to break out here, and with the news here, we collapsed back in my favor. So I wanted to touch, I mentioned it briefly, I do plan on holding this trade into news events like that. You know, oftentimes as a swing trader, you're going to come into contact with news events that cause your trades to swing. And part of the reason that I trade from a swing trading perspective is because I do like to pay attention to fundamentals. And we have been discussing you know, some of these faster central banks combating inflation, like New Zealand, right? Like the U.S., the Fed, right? We've seen these central banks racing to raise interest rates in the current market environment that we're in. And so New Zealand, we have had a bullish perspective on New Zealand partially due to that. So I didn't take this trade because I knew this news was coming. I did happen to know that it was coming, but it wasn't going to keep me in or out of the trade. I overall expect New Zealand in terms of interest rates to continue to outpace the euro area or the ECB, and that was part of the trade idea. So we're floating around $1,100, $1,200 at this point. You guys saw that was some quite a wild ride there on the 5-minute chart, just watching the actual spike to the downside. Huge red candle with some follow through there. I would like to at a certain point go ahead and lock this stop loss at break even, but I'm just going to give it some time to make a move around, and you know, maybe that'll be a mistake. But again, I just don't want to try and get stops too close to this thing, just because I know this thing is going to be probably jumpy for a little bit here. So there's where we're at with the trade. I will give you guys an update once I have one for you. Again, held this zone beautifully. Happy to have re-entered into this trade. So you can see, just to recap, I took this trade here, price went in my favor, and then came back to just about my break-even point, and ended up closing with just a little bit of profit. Came up to this zone, took the re-entry there, and it held this zone pretty well, which was where my stop loss was in mind. So we'll see if we can get some follow through, and I'll give you guys an update when I have one. All right, guys, and we are all out of Euro New Zealand. Unfortunately, I spoke a little bit too soon with my idea there of not moving stops to break even. This thing rallied right off of support perfectly. If you were a buyer, then congratulations. Price came all the way back up to my entry and then beyond it, closing me out for a loss overall. Now, am I disappointed with this trade? Truthfully, yeah, a little bit, because that was a lot of profit that was on the table. I didn't trail stops to break even because I knew that volatility was going to be high, but I didn't quite think we were going to just pop way past right away like that. A little bit of a strange market move, but this is why we have stops on the trade, because things would have been much worse by now. And you know, I'm not totally defeated just because I took a loss, right? The idea here is that I took a trade here. It didn't quite work out, but we were able to get out with a small amount of profit. Then we re-entered, that didn't work out, and we took a small loss. There's no scenario here where I just catastrophically failed and blew up the entire account, right? I just took a small loss, and my idea just didn't work out as well as I thought. So this is not something I can't recover. This is not something that, you know, is just a total fail. It's just a scenario that it's one of my many series of trades. And the way I see this is that, okay, all this takes for me is a trade in which it goes 1R and I'm back to break even, or if it goes 2R, 3R, 4R, I make a nice little profit overall. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to hit the thumbs up button, subscribe. Thank you very much for watching, and comment what you think I should have done differently. I'm sure that this one will be a little bit of an interesting one to hear you guys' thoughts, but I understand that I probably could have played this a little bit better. Thank you guys for watching, and see you next time. Looks like it's time for your next trading video. Check out the videos here and here for more free trading content that should help you in your trading journey. We try and keep it real here, so make sure to subscribe for more content that is down to earth, realistic Forex trading content. See you in the next video.